ever can.
So welcome Monday morning. We're going to be talking in the beginning of this practice about sensitivity versus being desensitized. Okay, because if you look at sensitivity, sensitivity is recognizing change and influence and signals, and it's being perceptive. And when we have that acknowledgement of what's happening around us, especially in the present moment, we're actually being very conscious. So sensitivity is a conscious path. In fact, if you look up the definition of sensitivity, conscious will come up in the definition. Yoga is meant to be a conscious path. And I want you to think about how in our conditioning, we have become desensitized to a lot of things. So for instance, for me personally, and this is just, you know, if I look back at my history, I love watching war movies. War movies and action movies were my thing. And I used to love, what's his name? Is it Robert Patterson? He wrote the murder mystery crime books. I love those books. Until I started yoga. And when I started yoga, you guys, I wasn't doing it once a week or twice a week. I was all in. Like, it was something that spoke to me, and it was an everyday thing. It was I gotta read more, I gotta do more, I gotta explore more. It just hit me like that. And I realized through my yoga practice and that yoga journey, I was actually becoming more and more sensitive. So after my class, I would leave and the colors would be brighter, or the smells would be stronger, or my hearing would be more sensitive. And I just really noticed it with my senses first. And then that sensitivity continued to build. And it got to the point where it's like, I couldn't watch a war movie anymore. I couldn't take the violence anymore. And I started down the path of reading a lot of, you know, like spiritual books and self-help books and philosophy. And my whole reading like completely changed as well. And I've never been able to go back. Even when Rob sits me down and like, we're gonna watch this movie, and you know, it's with the kids and it's more action filled or something, it's like I'm grimacing, I can't look, I can't watch, and I've just become more sensitized. So if you haven't noticed that with a regular yoga practice, it'll probably hit you at some point to some degree, and we're all unique and different. So you may not be as extreme as I was, but you may start to be aware of that. But we've been so desensitized with what we see, and with what we read, and what we come across in our environments, conversations, that it is something to pay attention to. Because usually when we're desensitized, we're unconscious of it, we're unaware of it. And I can tell you an example of where I became desensitized, not to the point of not caring, because I always cared, but I didn't have the same reaction. When I worked for the airlines and we started flying to India, India is just a very different nation, right? When you're flying into the country, have you been into their art? When you're flying in, there's this pungent smell that comes to hit the plane and you're not even on the ground yet. It's like, oh, what's that smell? It's actually burning rubber. They burn a lot of rubber near the airport. I found that out from a pilot because I was like, what is the smell? But yet when you actually go out into the streets, there's a lot of smell, right? Because there's a lot of spices and there's a lot of pollution. And think about the brightness of the saris. Again, sensory overload when you land there, because the culture is so vastly different. And one of the things that makes it different is there's people begging on the street, like way more than Nashville. And I know Nashville has gotten more populated that way since the pandemic, but there are people who are actually walking around with wounds that are infected, and your heart aches and your stomach just feels like nauseous because you're seeing this like right in front of you. And I would go back to my room and cry. I would just go back and cry and cry and cry. But I went to India twice a month for over a year. And I noticed like 6 months down the way, it still bothered me to see it, but I didn't go back to my room and cry anymore. Do you see the exposure? I was becoming a little bit more desensitized to it. Part of the human experience. But anyway, that's what I want you to consider today when we're going through our practice. What are you being sensitive towards? What have you become desensitized to? And we're going to start in a pose that you may have a lot of sensitivity with, because it's pigeon. We usually are more warmed up when we get to that pose, but we're going right into it. So we're going to set up with the right shin in front of us, the left leg behind us, the right knee's kind of pointed off to the side. Your hip points are even, and then you're going to walk it down. Now test the waters here, because even though you may plummet to the face typically, hips and hamstrings are more sensitive early in the day. So you may need to be propped up. If you need to be propped up, you're welcome to sink into prayer hands. You're welcome to stack the arms or fists to provide a headrest if you want it. Close your eyes and notice any sensitivity here and where it may be showing up. Is it the ankle? Is it the knee? Is it your thigh, hip, buttocks, pelvic floor? Just be aware. Continue to activate that pranayama, breathing with depth and control. Every in-breath, allow for replenishment. And every out-breath, visualize something departing, even if it's just your next thought. Sometimes the hips are considered the holding tank in the body. What are you holding? If the sensation starts to dissolve, move lower into the pose, closer to the ground. If you find that the sensitivity is actually building, then you may want to back up. Be patient as the tension unravels. Notice if it's innate for you to have a longer, slower out breath here. If not, maybe make it applicable. Because the exhalation helps with that process of letting go. On your next in-breath, let's gently begin to back away. When you back away, we're going to lean out onto the right hip. We're going to spin down to the low back. We're staying on the right side. The right ankle is going to cross over the left knee. We'll pick up the left foot. We'll attach and link the hands behind the left thigh to draw in. So this particular pose, I have the needle, is sometimes called figure 4 or half pigeon. But notice the sensation is similar but different. Do you have more sensitivity now? on your back as we continue to open up this side. On your next inhale, go ahead and lengthen your left leg and point your toes. And with the toes pointed up towards the ceiling, feel the stretch on the top of the foot, the front of the ankle, and the muscles attaching to the shin. And then flex the ankle, pumping up through the heel, and feel how it stretches out the calf muscles. And then inhale, point. Exhale, flex. Inhale, point. Exhale, flex. And now rotate your foot in circles. Notice it's easier to roll to the inside than the outside. And then reverse. Once you've been waking up the foot, go ahead and descend the left foot back to the mat. Keep your right ankle crossed on top of that left knee and let your knees roll off to the right side. So you're coming into a twist. Now that right foot is going to provide a little weight bearing as we stretch out the outside of the left thigh. Feel that twist, mainly centered around the low back, creeping up into the mid back, but the shoulders are still evenly planted on the floor. Now inhale, draw the knees back up, completely cross your right leg over your left, pick up your left foot so the knees are coming in towards the chest, and then hug them in. It's kind of like shoelace legs or Gokasana legs. Your hands can attach to the top of that left knee. Some people prefer hugging the back of the left thigh. So on your next in breath, go ahead and expand your arms out, shoulder height. Let the knees roll over to your left. This is a much deeper supine twist. If it's too deep this early in the practice, you can uncross the legs. A more conservative approach is keeping the right shoulder grounded. Open up the wave of the breath on the right side of the body. Affirming here as you hold, I'm opening myself up to a new flow of energy and consciousness within. Inhale, draw the knees to center. Exhale, uncross the legs. Roll to one side, pick yourself up. We're going to do that same sequence as part of our warm-up today. Left shin out in front for pigeon. Right leg behind the back. And then when you're ready, walk it out. Second separate side, so check in. If you need props, you can add them. You want to prop your head up. Prop the hip up. Checking in with your experience and then molding into the edge of your flexibility. Maintaining command over the breath. Concentrating on the breath. to short circuit the mind if it's too busy. Are you holding more or less on this side? So just a few more breaths, and realize if you get that percolating effect in the foot or the toes that you notice in the awakening of the energy. Some people mistake that for the foot going to sleep. Take one last breath. And the inhale, it slowly begin to lift out of that position. We'll roll to the left hip, down to the back, crossing left ankle over the right knee, drawing it towards your upper body. Noticing the difference. So you might have noticed when we're in the regular pigeon, that front leg is not always like a 90-degree angle like it is here. That 90-degree angle can give us a little more. But we're also in a different relationship with gravity. You are attempting to keep the low back anchored on the floor. Now let's inhale, point the right toes as you fly the foot skyward. And then exhale, flex the opposite way, pushing up energetically through the heel. And then inhale, pointing. Exhale, flexing. Pointing, flexing, and then rotating. And then go ahead and release the right foot to the floor and allow yourself to move into the twist, keeping that left ankle stacked on top of the right knee, providing just a little extra weight there. Getting some rotation in the low back, a little in the mid back, upper back stays grounded. And then we're going to bring that spine up higher, or the twist up higher, I should say. Come back to center, completely hook your left leg over the right, float your right foot, let the knees roll off to the right. Now notice how the twist is going to meander up higher up the vertebrae. In fact, some of you may even notice the left shoulder rising a little bit. The more conservative approach is to roll back down to the shoulder blade. But sometimes it's okay for it to hover if you're trying to open up that connective tissue, that fascia, as long as there's no sharp shooting pain. You can still easily breathe through this. And you're good. Affirming. I am opening myself up to a new flow of energy and consciousness within. Now unwind from that twist, uncross the legs, and you're gonna fly the feet up and rock up using your hands to lift your seat. So you're coming into squats, hands to prayer. Lifting your chest, lifting the top of the head. We haven't even really got much of the hamstrings yet. So that was the other more sensitive area in the mornings. So let's hold here one last breath. And then hands down, go ahead and straighten your legs and heel to the feet more together. So they're close to each other, but a little separation in between. And then slide your heart down towards your knees, your forehead down towards your shins. And Uttanasana. Now, always at the beginning of class, this area is a little bit more sensitive than, say, towards the end of our sun sows. So pay attention to that. Deep breath in, slow breath out. Now we're going to begin some Surya Namaskara. So root the feet. Inhale, sweep the arms to your sides and up overhead. And exhale, bring hands home to the heart. All right, we're going to be doing 5 of these. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, flow down, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift and lengthen up halfway. Exhale, lower back in. Inhale, take your plank. Exhale, rock forward, lower down, Chaturanga Dandasana. But wait for your inhale to rise to upward facing dog. Allow the exhale to carry you back to downward facing dog. Hold and breathe. As you press down through your palms and stretch long through your arms and spine, at the same time, you're pressing through the balls of the feet, which allows the heels and hips to elevate. Sending the energy all the way into the sits bones. Now, where's your breath? Next inhale, let's go ahead and travel the feet to the top of the mat. You can meditationally walk, lunge, or float, but let's halfway up on arrival. Exhale, drop back in. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart. Let's keep this rolling. Inhale, circle up. Feel that Uddiyana Bandha at the belly and exhale, fold. Inhale, lift and lengthen out. Stretch through that core. Exhale, drop back in. Inhale, take your plank. Exhale, rock forward, lower down, Chaturanga Dandasana. Continue through the vinyasa at your own pace, according to your breath. Holding downward facing dog with the eyes open. Breathing in and out through the nose. My family used to always tease me because they would say I would really shelter my son. I don't shelter my son, but we never had TV for years. So I guess in that way he was sheltered from that type of entertainment. And I remember going to visit my family and there was something on, a snake or something. My dad started teasing my son because he was like, "You're so sensitive." Inhale, bring the feet to the top of the mat. So sometimes in this culture, it's seen as a weakness, but it's not a weakness, it's a conscious path. Exhale, lower the head and the heart. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. We're gonna keep this rolling. Inhale, circle the arms up. Beautiful, exhale, flow down, Uttanasana. In and halfway up. Notice already the hamstrings are getting better. Exhale, release. Inhale, take your plank. Exhale, lower Chaturanga. Inhale, slide through it up. Exhale and rock and roll back. Downward facing dog. Completely Immerse yourself with breath. Noticing how the breath keeps you in and out. Inhale, feet to the top of the mat. Open the heart. Exhale, drop back in. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart. Now that the muscles are more warm, we're going to add in some extra juicy poses. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold in. In and look out into the room. Out, see if you can bounce right back into your chaturanga perhaps. Inhale, open the heart. Exhale, roll it back. All right, so on your inhalation here, make sure your feet are not especially wide apart because we're gonna lift the left leg halfway up. Now, once you lift the left leg halfway up, notice if your shoulders buckle. If so, push into your palms, stretch long through your arms, and keep that traction going through your back. And feel as though the left heel is an extension of your tailbone. Good, now swing that foot through between the hands and look out into the, turn and plant your back foot to the floor. Keep this thigh. What is that song? Low, low, low. Keep it low, low, low. I heard that at the football game the other day. Lift the arms up. All right, so when we keep that thigh low, we're gonna really get into that hip. And make sure when you come up, you're not still leaning out over the front thigh, you're just backing your waist up. Now flip your left palm open, sail it up, hang the right arm back, side warrior. Inhale, come back, warrior two. I joyfully manifest the power of my own sensitivity. When you're ready, look down. You're gonna bring the hands down and you're gonna bend the elbows and crouch lower. At the same time, you're focused on your left thigh. So look at your left foot. Did it turn? Keep the toes pointed towards the top of the mat. Keep your left thigh rolling away from your waist. Good, now walk your hands over to the left foot. When you're walking over to the left foot, feel how your left hip kind of tucks under the body. And then reach that right arm skyward, side angle. Good, now lift the left hand, prop onto the knee. We're gonna sweep that right arm down, slowly. Look towards the left foot. Take the block in the left hand, step it forward, and slowly open to Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. With that back leg lifted, spread your toes and especially reach through the mound of the big toe. You got it. That was great, Heather. Breathe. Now on your exhale, slow, 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 bring the right hand down, find the other block. Set it underneath your right shoulder. And at the same time, you're rolling the right hip down, down, down. So it's gonna even up with the other hip points. Right foot's reaching towards the wall behind your back. If your hands can touch the floor, you don't necessarily need blocks. I just felt like using them today. All right, from here, this is our inhale, this is our extension. As we exhale, we're gonna bend both knees and we're gonna draw in, nose towards knee. You got it. Inhale, reach out through the spine, through the back foot, straightening out to the standing leg, and then exhale, bending both knees, curling in. Good, continue. Inhale, push back. Exhale, curl in. Good, one more. Inhale. Good, exhale. All right, inhale, straighten out. Now we're gonna come out to the lunge. So that means we're gonna need to bend the left knee, Tiptoe the right foot down, hands come back to the sticky mat. You got it, left foot plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, fly to up dog. Exhale, rock and roll back. All right, so we're adding in some juicier poses here. So let's take a cleansing breath before we go to the next side. Deep breath into the nose. Breathe it out with the side of your mouth. Step the feet slightly closer. Inhale, lift the right leg halfway up. And we're gonna hold it here for a moment. Make your hands heavier, your arms longer, your spine more spacious, your hips stay square, and that right heel is an extension of the tailbone. Good, now swing the right foot through, bury the back heel to the floor, keep your right thigh low, low, low as you curl it up. The one thing mirrors are good for if they were in the room, because you can actually see. But without the mirrors, we have to get into the feel of it. So even though we're keeping it low, we're still creating a little levity, which means draw up through the pelvic floor, up through the navel, up through the chest. Now right arm reaches up, back arm hangs back. Silent. Inhale, warrior two. And joyfully manifest the power of my own sensitivity. Shift forward, lower the hands down. Notice when you bring the hands down, the hips kind of move back. And then crouch low. Active Spider-Man pose. Breathe. Walk your hands over towards the right foot. Lock that right arm into the shin. Squeeze and tuck that right hip under. And lengthen the left arm overhead. Now prop onto that front knee. And this is where we're going to transition half moon. So that left arm's going to circle down. We're going to look down. When we shift forward onto that right blocker hand, then we slowly open up to half moon. Ardha Chandrasana. Find your levity, find your lightness. Exhale, lower the left hand. Remember, you can go on hands or blocks. Roll the left hip down, the hips are even. When that left hip lowers, you should feel the whole circumference of your right thigh fire up, instead of just the inner thigh. All right, when you're ready, draw in on the exhale. Stretch out on the inhale. And keep that going, but pause briefly in each one. So your breath is slowed and under your command. The next time you straighten out, we're going to move back towards the lunge, which means we're going to lunge the right knee, slowly tiptoe the back foot to the floor, and the hands come back beside the front foot. You got it. Right foot plank. Exhale, lower chaturanga. Inhale, rise to up dog. Exhale, back to down dog. Hold and move. Inhale. See if you can bend your knees and float or hop the feet together to the top of the mat, straightening out on your right and dropping in on the exhale. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart. All right, ready to keep going? One more flow. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands down. Inhale, open halfway. Exhale, release. Inhale, take plank. Go ahead and move through the vinyasa. Now, when you roll back to down dog, notice the foot placements and set them up properly because we are going to be lifting the leg again. So we're going to start lifting the left leg first. Dorsiflexion through the ankle. Make sure the shoulders feel even. And then when you're ready, swing that foot through between the hands. Turn and plant your back foot. Bring it up. Virabhadrasana 2. Hips are feeling better. Hopefully. Left palm open. Maybe I shouldn't speak for everyone, but mine are feeling better. They got a little more defrosted. Inhale, warrior 2. Exhale, coming down, Spider-Man. We are going to go into a different balancing pose, by the way. Okay, we will not be using blocks for the balancing, but we are going to transition through side angle. So walk the hands to the left foot. That front knee stays lined over the ankle, arm attaches to the shin, right arm's going to sail up. You got it. Now prop the elbow to the knee. Good, come back, warrior 2. All right, this balancing pose is no blocks, no hands. So it looks like this. We hop the back foot forward, and then we fly the back foot up, and the arms are still reaching out, kind of like warrior 2. I gotta quit talking so I can balance. Good, exhale, lunge the knee, hands down, back foot drops. Isn't that fun? Forgot about that pose. Left foot plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, open. Exhale, down. All right, we got one more side. Walk the feet a little closer. Right leg lifts on the inhale. Continue to breathe as you hold. Refine the arm. And then swing the right foot through. Back heel down. Lifting up. Warrior 2. Inhale, sideward. Back to forward. To Spider-Man. Spider-Man to side angle. Propping the elbow. Backing up to warrior 2. Now, because we've been in this stance for so long, it may be better to hop that back foot forward, lunge that front knee, lean out over that front thigh, and then pick up that back foot. Look at your hips. Open or? The hips are open, but not as open as half moon. Good. Exhale, bend the knee, hands down. All right. Come to your knees a minute. Sit on the block if you need to, or sit on your heels if you can. And here's why. I forgot that pose existed. And I thought of it the other day. And I was like, oh, I forgot about that pose. Let's do it. So you can see, Heather had a great question. She was like, what are your hips doing in that pose? So in warrior, or not warrior, but in half moon, right, we have something to balance on. but we're actually trying to roll the torso open, which requires the hips to open, right? And so I'm completely looking at this side. But in that other pose we were doing, from warrior two to here, we're open, but we're not as open, right? Can you see the difference?
Yeah, so you're not square hip and you're not open hip. You're in the middle.
Okay, I'll show you from the wall. So this is kind of what we're doing. But in half moon, we're here. You see how I can get more open? Hopefully you can see it more at the wall. You have a little bit more rotation through the torso versus that other one. And the other one's no hands. Okay. Whew. How's pose? Except we're adding in a shoulder tricep stretch. So the elbows walk out as the palms come together to prayer, and bow your head in between the arms. And just breathe. And it's actually okay if your head doesn't touch the floor. For some people, it may need to hover. But if it does touch down, notice you're resting on the brow, what we call the third eye center. And inhale, let's lift the head up. We'll separate the hands, shoulder distance, and rock up to hands and knees. So the inversion we're going to do today is a fun one. It's more grounded. And you've done it before, so we'll just get into it. Flip the left palm, loop it underneath your right hand, and you're pushing into that right hand, rolling slightly towards the left shoulder blade. Now press down through your left foot, left shoulder, and begin to pick up your right knee, straighten out through your right leg. Spread the toes on that foot and power through the mound of the big toe like you would in half moon. And if your balance feels off today, you can keep your right knee on the ground. So we've got a twist, we've got an inversion. And then lower the right knee. Good, now going to the yin format, which is bringing the right forearm down, face plant down to your left cheek, sag in your belly, and let your chest melt down. So it's a completely different approach. It's a more passive ragdoll kind of approach. You're just, well, when I do the yin version of this, I always think of St. Patrick's Day, because St. Patrick's Day, there's always these viral cartoons of people doing Irish yoga, which is really drunk yoga, and they're just passed out. And this is one of the poses they're just kind of passed out in. Totally opposite from conscious, the conscious path we've been talking about today, but it's still kind of funny. Slide your right hand closer to your face to push through the palm and to return to tabletop. From tabletop, flip your right hand, thread and loop it under. We're going to stay active at first, so the belly's hugging in. When you're really pressing into your left palm, rolling towards your right shoulder, and that belly's hugging in, I always actually, this is like one of the poses I feel my rib cage. Do you feel your rib cage? I feel my rib cage in the front, I feel it in the back. Yeah. And then push down through your right foot. Notice when you're being active, you're resting in a place kind of above or behind your ear. You're not really down on your cheek. And then lifting the left leg, spreading the toes, reaching through the mound of the big toe, just like you would in half lift. And breathe. Lower the left knee, drape down to the left forearm, drape down to the right cheek, and just let your weight descend. Let your belly flop. Total passive approach. Slide your left hand in, push through that hand to ungrip your arm, come to our backs. And we're gonna catch your knees at first. Now I want you to circle the knees several times one way. And then the opposite way. And then open your arms out shoulder height. Align your knees over the rim of the pelvis. And then let your knees start to rock right. Just a certain degree. Pass back through center. And then take it to the same degree to the left. You're not descending the knees all the way to the floor. So in other words, you're taking it a few inches. And then a few more inches. And then a few more inches. Like you're about to roll into a twist, but you're not quite going there. And hopefully you can feel how this is such a great massage for the butt, for the piriformis. And the piriformis is that small muscle. It's kind of hidden back in the buttocks, tucked behind the hip. And we can have some sensitivity there. You're also sneaking in some twist, even though you're not lounging in it. All right, next time, you've done it evenly to both sides. So if you started to the right, make sure you go left last, and then hug the knees in. And you can now prep for Shavasana. So if you wanted, you can also use your cross. You could use Stonehenge for an example. You can use them the other way to desire. we're gonna change out the music because I want us to focus. Here we go. This is the one I wanted. We're gonna listen to some sound bowls that are set to the tone for the third eye. And this is an area where I often suggest gazing when the eyes are closed. And it's at the midpoint of the brow. I've mentioned in the past a piece of scripture that says, if thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be filled with light. And there have actually been some scientific studies. I'm pretty sure it was with Dalai Lama monks in India. And when the researchers came to study their brain, they discovered, because these monks meditated daily with the third eye, that the prefrontal lobe of their brain was more lit up than a typical human. As a reminder, this center goes back to our own innate knowing or intuition, insights, imagination, but also an emotion. And this is what I was surprised to find, because I always think of compassion stemming from the heart. But the researchers said that these meditators had more compassion, and it was detectable through the mouth. Being compassionate is being sensitive. Being sensitive is being conscious. Slowly begin to deepen the flow of our breath. And to awaken the body, creating some movement. Sitting out, meeting me, a comfortable seat. Bringing your hands in prayer position. We all recognize the sensitivity in the part of practice. And we notice when we're out in the world what we've become desensitized towards. Finding and maintaining a healthy balance. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Thanks you guys for coming. There is something I saw the special a couple years ago, and it's used by psychology called desensitization. And it's for anybody who's dealt with any type of major trauma. So for instance, the one that I saw was a child who had had an accident on an escalator. And he was traumatized and petrified of escalators. And so the program was, yes, you need to become desensitized to that moment of trauma because they really aren't safe if used correctly, right? And so they're trying to teach the little boy, like, okay, let's go together. You can hold my hand, or, certain things. Make sure your shoelaces are all tied up so it won't get caught, in the tracks. And they're trying to help them get past the trauma of it. So that is a term that actually comes up in psychology as well, for good reason. Have a beautiful rest of your day. This Friday night, I am going to do a restorative and Reiki